Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Firstly, say thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for giving us some blessing and mercies, so I can present it in good situation and condition. Second, salawat and salam always be given to our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has gone from the darkness to the brightness, from stupidity to the cleverness, and the atheism as well. Thirdly, thanks to a lecturer and my classmate want to hear my materials about evaluation of tests, especially testing criteria. Definition of evaluation. Evaluation is the collection of analysis and interpretation of information about any aspect for program education or training as part of recognized process of judging its effectiveness, its efficiency, and any other outcomes it may have. Ellington Principle and Rest, 1988. Evaluation is the process of gathering data and making judgment about the effectiveness of teaching programs, policies, and procedures decision. Suarsimi Arikunto, 2004, number 1. Testing criteria. First, validity. Validity relates to the extent to which the result of the assessment can be used for the intended purpose. Validity is related to the feasibility, meaningfulness, and usefulness that is concluded from the result of the assessment for certain purpose. Validity investigation relates to the question: to what extent is person test result related to the language ability to be measured by maximizing the effect of the language ability on the test score. Second, reliability. Reliability relates to the consistency or constancy of the assessment result. Consistency allows a valid assessment. Investigating reliability is concerned with answering the question: to what extent is person test result due to measurement errors or factors more than the language ability to be measured, will be done by minimizing the effect of the factor on test scores. Third, authentic. Authentic relates to the suitability of the language assessment task with the communication situation in question, real or the real world. Authentic assessment including writing essay reports, proposal design, and portfolios. Fourth, practical. An assessment is said to be practical if first, the cost to implement is affordable. Second, the implementation is not too long so that the test can be complete according to the set time. Third, the administration is clear and easy to do. Fourth, scoring and interpretation does not take long. The results are easy to interpret. Fifth the last, washback. Washback is the effect of tests on the teaching and learning process. For assess the ability to talk about identity of course by conducting interviews or role playing, so that in learning many students are trained to speak and express their identity. Assessment that really on multiple choice question that test students' knowledge and understanding will have an effect on learning. During the learning process, students will be trained to answer questions for knowledge and understanding. Next, assessment instrument. In general, what is meant by an instrument is a tool that meets academic requirements so that it can be used as a tool to measure a measuring object or collect data about a variable. Broadly speaking, assessment tools instrument can be divided into two types, namely test. The test is measurement tool in the form of question, comments, and instruction that are shown to students to get responses according to the instruction. On the basis of the response, the high and low score in quantitative form are then compared with predetermined standard to draw quantitative conclusion. The test is divided into two, namely writing and oral tests. The writing test can be in the form of an essay test description, true false test, multiple choice test, match marking test, and completion test. Below are examples of written and oral tests for checking the assessment of four English skill. English skill. The first, speaking. Conduct monologues, namely the ability to produce oral text such as speech, oral presentation, storytelling, retelling a story, and news event. The monologue task is adjust to the desired text form on the basic competency. For example, narrative, report, recount. Skills, speaking. Competency indicators, express conference. Assessment techniques, oral tests. In speaking assessment rubric, the first pronunciation, second vocabulary, third understanding, fourth intonation, fifth fluency, and the last accuracy. Second, writing. In skill is writing. Competence indicator, making narrative text. Assessment technique is writing test. Instrument form is description. For example, choose one the topics suggest and write a well organized narrative paragraph, each paragraph at least 5 sentences, and put subordinating conjunction. In writing assessment rubric or criteria, the first, the suitability of the topic or situation, and proper language structure, and then choice of words and spelling, number of sentence, and neatness of writing. Third, listening. Listening to understand the conversation, such as listening for the gist, for the main idea, and making inference. For the skill is listening. For the competence indicators is responding to expression. For assessment technique is writing test. For instrument form is audio and text script. And the last is reading. Reading to understand. Rhetoric steps show students a certain form of text, then ask them to identify the parts of the text according to the structure of the text, generic structure, and language feeders. For skill is reading. For competency indicator is understanding the topic in the paragraph. For assessment technique is writing test. Instrument form is the description. And the last is non-test. Non-tests generally play an important role in evaluating student learning outcomes in terms of the affective domain and the psychomotor domain, while the test technique is more widely used to evaluate student learning outcomes in terms of the cognitive domain with non-test techniques. The assessment or evaluation of student learning outcomes can be done by systematic observation, conducting interviews, distributing questionnaires, and checking or researching documents analysis. Okay, that's all for my material. At last, I hope you're understanding from my materials. Hopefully, you to forgive me for my faults. Thank you so much for attention. May the Almighty God bless how unused is endless blessing. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.